we want to give you some good tips and tricks for one of our hosts that is a direct expert. So we're going to bring on Steve Barsh, who is the founder and of Parker Chase Properties, and he just hit 500K in direct booking. So it's a lot of knowledge to share. I'm going to let Steve talk about his portfolio, and we'll bring up a couple of pictures while he's speaking, so that you can get a look at what his portfolio looks like. But he has, I believe, 5 luxury properties out in the Park City, Deer Valley area. And as you can see, his properties deliver a really high-end luxury guest experience. So I will keep scrolling through the photos. Steve, do you want to start by telling us about your portfolio and your properties?
Sure. Hi, Abby. Thanks for having me. Hi, Steve Barsh, and you said from Park City, Utah, in the US, so towards the Rocky Mountains, a big ski destination, a huge ski destination in the winter, and also a large summer destination. So we own ourselves 4 of the properties you're seeing pictures of. We manage a total of 5 because we sold one of our properties and did a US 1031 exchange last year. And when we sold that property, the one with the pool table on the right now, the new owner asked us, well, can you continue to manage it? So we do. But largely what we're doing is we're managing assets that we own ourselves as a family. And that's what we do. So it's the 4 properties. They're all ski in, ski out. Our target customer, whenever I talk to people that are in the vacation rental space and trying to do this, I always think like, who's your target customer? We're very clear. Our ideal customer profile, ICP or target customer, is somebody who would stay at a Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, Six Senses, like a very, very high-end customer. So that's what we're going after. Our properties during the winter season, which in Park City runs from about December 1st to mid-April, because we're in North America, is really where we make the lion's share of our money. It's the highly profitable. We probably stay 90% occupied with our properties. And then the summer, we probably run at about a 70 or 80% occupancy. Summer is just you're running a cash flow break even. Winter is where you really make money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you're very busy right now.
It is getting very busy. Yep.
Yeah, cool. And how long have you been doing direct bookings with your property?
Well, let me go back. I'll answer that question, but I'm add a little context. We've
Okay.
owned properties in Park City, Utah. We bought the first one. Luckily, our oldest child is 25, so we bought our first property 25 and a half years ago. Before Airbnb existed, VRBO, I don't think even existed back then. So we started very early on and things on Craigslist. We started managing our own properties about 10 or 15 years ago. I got rid of all the property managers and rental managers because I said, this isn't that difficult and we can do a better job. So for direct bookings, we list today on VRBO and Airbnb. We started on VRBO because it predated Airbnb. We're on Airbnb. We started putting our properties on direct. Here's an easy question for you, Abby, or maybe a trick question. When did direct launch? That's when we started on direct. Do you know, was it
I
a
think it was like
year ago, year and a half ago?
a year and a half
Okay.
ago. Yep.
So I'd say we've been on direct with Hospitable for about 18 months. We've had our own website for a lot longer than that. But we've had direct and it feeds into our website for 18 months.
Okay, great. And how do you help convince people to book directly with you versus the other OTAs that you list on?
So I'd say there's a couple of things. And I just want to preface something. When you said we've hit a $500,000 in direct bookings, which is true, we're a little different and I get to cheat on that. And let me tell you why. These are very high-end properties. They're very expensive. We're going after a very targeted guest. I'd say it is not uncommon for a winter booking for us to be $20,000 to $25,000 for a
Mhm.
7-night stay. We had our largest booking ever that's about to check in 5 days. It's staggering to me. It's $145,000 single booking for a 6.5 week stay. And they wanted to extend it longer, but we're already booked.
Mhm.
Just people who are willing to pay for what we offer. So, but our average is probably $10,000 to $15,000 is our typical booking. Look,
Mhm.
the way I look at it, and I've jotted down some notes watching in the chat. People said, well, to get direct bookings, you really need to have a presence. And people are asking about Google AdWords. And so everybody's thinking, yeah, SEO is important, but how does this feed into my SEM, my search engine marketing strategy, and my Facebook ads, my Google ads? We don't do any of that. I tried doing Google ads 10 or 15 years ago, and that is a waste of time, I find, for us. Our primary channels are Airbnb and VRBO. That's how people discover us. Now, what happens from there? For us, about 30% of our guests repeat book. Our typical guest is driving to Salt Lake City International Airport, which is 35 minutes from most of our condos. And on the drive down, they're booking next year, a year in advance, because they have such a great stay.
Mhm.
They said, this is unlike anything I've ever stayed in, and they book it. So about 30% of our guests repeat book. Of the 30%, I was looking, trying to think it through, probably 80% of them book directly with us. So I look at Airbnb and VRBO as lead gen for us. I'm not going to compete with them and try to, outspend and do Google AdWords. So that's one way. The other way that people find us, and if I'm answering your question, is look on all of those websites, everything says Parker Chase Properties, right? And when we sign reviews, they all say, thanks for staying with us, Steve, founder and chief experience officer, Parker
Mhm.
Chase Properties. So they get so there's a probably 10% of our bookings that are direct. People just Google Parker Chase Properties, go to our website and go, wait a second, if I book it directly, I've got all the social credibility, right? They're coming off of VRBO and Airbnb. They see some of
Mhm.
our properties with 150 five-star reviews. And then they just do a price match, kind of like, I don't know if you ever do this, Abby, like, oh, look, here's the Hilton in Atlanta. Oh, I can book it through Booking or
Yeah.
Expedia. What happens if I go and put in my AAA number and, oh, look, it's 10% cheaper. I'll book direct. So a lot of people find us there and then book direct, but we're not competing. Can I add just a little bit more detail for your audience on that? And
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Please do.
So I, my background is I'm a serial entrepreneur. My background is really software engineering. I have a sweat MBA. I've built a lot of companies. Many, many years ago, I learned something really interesting about Booking.com. This is before Booking today, because Booking used to be a company based in the Netherlands. It's very European. It was acquired by Priceline. Priceline changed their name. Here's an interesting thing when I started to get a lot of thoughts about not trying to compete against everybody else in AdWords. Somebody had told me, Steve, do you realize Booking.com has a team of 12 statistician PhDs that work in Amsterdam? And all they're doing is the bid spread ask and managing Google
Mhm.
AdWords throughout the day. Oh, look, the sun is rising in China. We know Chinese people tend to book 6 months out to go to Mexico, increase the bid price for the next 2.5 hours, drop the bid price. You're competing against these monsters that are really sophisticated in what they're doing. I don't
Yeah.
go down that path to get direct. So again, just to repeat, it's our repeat booking. It's people finding us. There is some organic finds because when we get a large direct booking, sometimes they'll ask, how did you even find us? So it's a combination of things, if that answers your question.
It absolutely does. I think that perspective is really helpful. And so, since you're seeing a lot of your returning guests coming back and booking direct with you, is there anything you're doing proactively to let them know that they can book directly with you next time?
Absolutely. We have a very large digital guide that people guests have access to. You know how many of the people on here, you start with a two-page, like, here's everything you need to know about our property, and you leave it in the
Mhm.
property laminated, and then you make it bigger and you put it in a binder and you make it digital. We use TouchStay to do that, which you guys have a wonderful integration with now, and it pulls
Mhm.
into the AI knowledge base, but I won't go on. I'll let your product people do that. So in TouchStay, in that digital guide, particularly on the departure, like, here's your departure, reminder about your departure instructions. By the way, if you want to come back, you can book direct. And we say to people, look, book any channel. If you feel more comfortable booking on Airbnb because of the brand or VRBO, knock yourself out. I'd
Mhm.
say, by the way, our typical guest, based on our booking size, typically saves about $1,000 booking directly with us. And
Wow.
most importantly, we don't have a disintermediated relationship with our guest, right? Like, we have a one-to-one relationship, because otherwise they're through Airbnb and they're an Airbnb customer. I want them to be our customer.
Mhm.
And just one other quick thing, I heard a great line years ago for, I don't know how many people are on this webinar or listening after the fact. Somebody said, well, I'm a real estate entrepreneur and I work for myself. We'll just use Airbnb. A great line I heard years ago. If you're doing all of your bookings through Airbnb and everything's through an Airbnb channel, you don't work for yourself. You work for Brian Chesky, CEO of Airbnb. That's who you're working for. So anyway, that's to answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Okay. And what is there anything that Hospitable could be doing to help you be more successful with direct bookings?
Look, you guys always get better. I think so I'm in the state of Utah in the United States. I don't think you guys are collecting or remitting taxes. You're collecting taxes, not remitting. I know you guys are rolling that out. That will be helpful. I know your mission in life is drive more bookings. And for people like me, you are my operating system, right? It's basically me running this little small portfolio with outsourced housekeeping and property management that I've worked for years. So it's all about giving me time back, right? That
Mhm.
would be yet another thing that gives me time back. I don't even have to think about taxes, the auto remission. That would be helpful. But you guys, I find, every 2 weeks, every time you have a town hall, cool. I love to get on. I've missed the last few. I'm too busy. Like, what's new? How's my life getting easier? So you're doing great things in direct. The only thing that jumps to mind is taxes. Eventually, that you guys could handle ACHs and wire transfers just for some of our bigger bookings. When you get a $145,000 booking, I thought the guest would want to put it on their Platinum American Express. They wanted to pay by wire, and we knew the guest, it wasn't a scam. So, but that comes up. That would be helpful. But I know that's on the roadmap.
Yes, absolutely. It is.
Mhm.
Okay, I want to keep us moving, and just
Sure.
so everyone knows in the chat, you will have opportunity to ask Steve questions. We'll bring up your questions in the Q&A. But is there a final tip that you have to share with our hosts on how to be successful with direct bookings?
Have a great website, whether that's, I don't do a hospitable generated website, by the way. You guys do that, right? I do my own website and I embed your widget.
Yep.
Have a great website that's going to highly convert. I know you guys are doing more on the social credibility, bringing it over. It's a lot of the same old. And just think about where are your customers, where are your guests coming from? And again, my expectation is 80% of them are going to come off of Airbnb and VRBO. So how are you going to make that guest over time feel comfortable booking with you directly, which means they've had a great stay or they can see that credibility on your site where they feel comfortable.